Hey there, my name's Pat. I'm a junior at the University of Pittsburgh. I'm studying engineering. I just finished my 5th semester at Pitt, and being back home has given me time to ruminate on the past 2.5 years and think about what I think I did correctly and what I would have changed if I were to do it over again. Now, if you're on this video, I do recognize it's probably because of a clickbaity title that was related to John Fish's video, but if you give me just a few minutes, I'll explain why I felt like I should make this video and give my perspective. While I am a fan of John Fish's content, I do think that this video in itself with its title paints a picture that I would not recommend as a perspective for students going into college. And I think that the videos that came after this video from other content creators are even more so painting that picture with their titles. I haven't watched their videos completely, but just to give a few examples, I'll point, there are 4 examples. But I do think that there needs to be sort of a response to this. I do think that John Fish's main point is that you need to make time for your passions. This can be limited by a variety of things, things that can be good or harmful. One of the main things he focuses on is social media, but I do think that that can sort of cloud the overall perspective that some students might take. To give credibility to this video, I will show that I have done well at Pitt. But that is in no way saying anything because I know Harvard is much more difficult of a school, but I just wanted to lay that out there from the get-go. Looking back on my first year, I would say that I resonate with a lot of the things that John Fish has mentioned in terms of sticking to exactly what the teacher says and just responding to assignments. But I do think that this is sort of what school necessitates. In order to get a degree and do well, you have to do what the classes suggest that you do rather than just follow your exact passions. That's sort of the reason that you go to school, is to learn from professors, etc. During my first semester especially, as well as throughout my first year, I did spend most of my time focusing on academics, and that did leave my passions and things that I would rather do in my life on the sidelines. There's definitely a healthy balance to doing this, but I would say that it is not the worst option to spend a lot of time focusing on academics coming straight into college, because college is going to be more difficult than high school in most cases. So putting this extra focus on your academics, I don't think you will regret going forward. I see to be much more the case with friends or other people that I interact with at Pitt. Some people come in freshman year and they don't spend enough time on academics. Doing poorly their first year ruin their whole college academic career, and they more so regret this than I see the people that focused more and did better but didn't have time for other things. It's not as much a regret for them. In my opinion, it's better to shoot for a 4.0 and then you may land below that, and there's nothing wrong with that. In the words of Kanye West, shoot for the stars, and if you fall, you might land on a cloud. And that's one thing that I live by. I think that you should set your goals high, because if you have the perspective that GPA doesn't matter, chances are you're not going to do that extra assignment, put in the extra work in order to get a higher grade on something that you think may not matter that much. And over the long term, I think that that is a bad perspective to take when approaching things such as academics. Although freshman year I'm more so focused on purely academics, going into my sophomore year I was able to become an RA as well as work as a part-time software developer, and then going into my junior year I've been able to even spend more time working on videos, hanging out with friends, going to sporting events. And so it's not like if you try to get a 4.0 you're necessarily throwing your life away. I do think that there is that balance that you can find. You should still shoot for the highest GPA that you can get, because for certain opportunities in life it may matter more than you think it does. Here's, in movie quote version, this perspective.
It's an evaluation tool we use to separate applicants. Be safe, score 100.
One thing that I like to keep in mind is there's a quote, work hard, play later. That sort of is the way that I approached going into college. Mainly focused on academics my freshman year, but going forward from there, spend more time focusing on other things. And I think that that has been a good idea. So in looking at the videos that spawn from John Fish's video, as well as just the overall message from the title, not necessarily the video itself, I think that it treats GPA in a facetious manner and saying that it doesn't matter at all and that you shouldn't pretty much try for a 4.0. I think that this is just a flippant way of talking about it because you're in the position where you have a 4.0. So in that situation, you can say it doesn't matter. If it does matter, you're okay anyway. I think it's pretty easy to take that perspective being in that position. Whereas I know for specific examples of people, they have gotten rejected from positions just because of their GPA. In a lot of cases, GPA can matter a lot more than people know it does, but it's definitely not the most important thing. As an anecdote to why it isn't necessarily the end-all be-all, I knew somebody in the grade above me. According to the Nissan application, you had to have a minimum GPA of 3.5 in order to apply for this co-op, but he was actually able to apply and get the co-op with almost a point under that, like a 2.7 or somewhere around there. But essentially, there are ways in order to get positions or take advantage of opportunities without having the GPA that you need. So that goes to show that experience, personability, skills in other areas can be more important than GPA. And without those, GPA is almost meaningless. If you have nothing else to show, then they can't just take a GPA and give you a job from that. Just because GPA isn't the end-all be-all doesn't mean you should disregard it completely. Because especially for big employers, it is the easiest thing to look at quickly and eliminate a lot of applicants if you do have a large applicant pool. Another thing that I've heard from a lot of people in the working world is that your GPA doesn't really matter once you have experience, but in order to get that first opportunity, a lot of the times you need to have a decent GPA in order to show that you did well in school and that you're ready for that opportunity. Giving myself as an example, I don't think I would have gotten my first internship if I had not done as well as I had in high school. But for my subsequent internships, I don't think it mattered as much because I had that experience already. In order to get that first experience, you do need to have convincing reasons for an employer to take you on, and one of the best is GPA. It's just an easy metric for employers to use. And as a side note, I'm in no way advocating for the use of GPA as that metric that should be used. But when you have hundreds of thousands of people applying for opportunities at your company, you're going to have to try to find ways to limit that and narrow that down before you use people that work for you in order to figure out the best candidates. If you do want to do well and above average, then you're going to have to put in above average work. There's definitely always an opportunity cost to go with work, but if you are pursuing that degree, I do think you will not regret it going forward if you put in more work and focus on academics at the beginning of your journey and then sort of temper that and figure out the best way to go forward after that first year or after that first semester. You should try your hardest and try to get whatever GPA is possible for you, and that's different for everybody. So take this with a grain of salt, but I just felt that I should put my 2 cents in on this whole, my 4.0 was a big failure. But that's all I have. Thanks for watching.